Hey everybody, it's Nick from the Bass Hookup, and today we have a beautiful fall morning, and today's video is going to be all about converting your bladed jigs into a better bait to catch more fall to wintertime bass, shallow or deep. So we're going to go over that, converting those bladed jigs. But first I want to start off by saying that, you know, if you like what you see in these videos, if you want to learn about fishing, if you want to come out here and fish in these ponds, and I've been debating this for a while, but I'm going to go ahead. And if you're interested, email me at thebasshookup@gmail.com about coming along with me on a guided trip out here to these ponds. We have 3 ponds, so within the day we could probably fish 2 of them, we could fish 3 of them, we could stay on one all day. There's different ponds. There's ones like this right here where there's a lot of them have a lot of weeds, but there's some that are very clear water, finesse fishing. There's some that are just power fishing, dirtier water. So depending on what you want to learn, we got the forward-facing sonar on the little boat right here. We'll go out on the boat, obviously, and I could teach you about forward-facing sonar. I could teach you about tournament fishing, what I'm looking for in the fall, winter, summer, spring, all those different things. So if you guys are interested in coming on a guided trip with me, email me at thebasshookup@gmail.com, and we'll link up. So just throwing that out there if anybody's interested. So today's video, like I said, jump on here, how to convert your bladed jigs into a fall time killer. So we're gonna get out here, see if we can find some fish, and mainly just going over converting the bladed jig and why you should do it during the fall time on our lakes here in Northern California or anywhere in the country. So let's jump on this boat and get started. All right, so let's jump right into it. Why would you want to convert your bladed jig or modify your bladed jig in the fall time through the winter time for bass in the lakes, in the river, anywhere you're fishing? Number one, because in the fall time, the water usually transitions from being, if it's, 5-foot visibility down to 10-foot or 12-foot. It gets really, really clean. So sometimes that bulk of the skirt with that loud vibration, everything added together, it's just a little too much. And those fish in the fall time, depending on your lake, are going to be targeting smaller bait fish and just bait fish in general. Not so much bluegill like they do in the summer, but the balls of bait really start schooling up in the fall and in the winter time. And those spotted bass, those largemouth, the smallmouth, they really start targeting those balls of bait. So what I do is I go ahead, take my bladed jig, and this one right here is the 1st gen copperhead, as you can see by the distinct BBs there. So another thing about this thing is why it works so well in the falls. If you don't know, I'm gonna let you know that jigging a LV 500, at least in Northern California lakes, in the fall is an excellent way to catch a lot of fish and big fish. And sometimes, once they bite that and they stop biting that, or you want to give them a different look, you could throw this out there, and this sounds a lot like a rattling bait. So you could throw this out there, put a soft plastic on it, and fool them with this instead of always having that LV 500. Just mix it up. So as you can see, all you have to do, it's super simple, just take the skirt off. The skirt adds a lot of bulk to it, and then just throw whatever trailer you like on the back. I'm just throwing a fluke. Just a good old white fluke on the back to imitate those bait fish. Now with this thing, I could reel it, shallow. I could go deep, and a lot of times I am fishing it deep, and I'll show you guys here, what this thing looks like. So instead of having that big bulky skirt on the back, it just has a fluke. So it gives it a totally different look to it instead of having that big skirt. So it just finesses the bait down, and it kind of acts more like a scrounger. So if you guys are familiar with scroungers, scrounger has a big plastic lip on it on the front. The only thing I don't like about scroungers is that big plastic lip compared to the bladed jig. Basically like the same idea to get it to vibrate. The only thing is with that plastic lip, the plastic lip does not bend when you go to set the hook. So you can miss a lot of fish on something like that. That's the only thing I don't like about the scrounger. The other thing is with the bladed jig, obviously, if you let it get down in the weeds, like I just did, it's a lot easier to break those weeds free from this as compared to something like a scrounger. Now, when I'm using it, a lot of times, like I said, like jigging an LV500 works really good in the fall. Use this the same way. So I let it go to the bottom, and it's almost like a dying bait fish, because as we get more into the winter time, the bait fish do start to kind of die off. And those big bass, they just sit down there and target those fish that are dying off. Those big bass especially, they don't want to expend a lot of energy going after the bait fish that are alive. They let the little fish go up there and school on those, and they just sit down at the bottom and they wait for those little bass to go up there, kill them bait fish, and then they sit at the bottom and wait for them to fall down to them and have a free meal. And that's why a lot of times flutter spoons and things like that work so good, is because that's what that's imitating. So right now I'm just on a shallow flat. Lots of weeds. Let that go down to the bottom. And vary your retrieve. You know, sometimes maybe they want just a fast retrieve. Maybe they want that yo-yo retrieve. And a lot of times in the fall time, the best areas to target, say you're at Lake Berryessa, Comanche, Folsom, are creek channels. So instead of points, I'm looking for those creek channels, those ditches, things that the bass could use as kind of a highway to go from deep to shallow really easily. And a lot of times the bait fish will use that as well, or the bass will just get them penned up in those channels and use them to drive those bait fish to the back of a cove or a pocket or wherever that creek channel ends. So when you're looking on your topographic maps, or if you're looking at the lake, just targeting the middle of coves, usually a lot of coves, like especially longer coves with deeper bank on them, will have some sort of creek channel. As you could imagine, as these lakes get low in the summertime and then it starts raining, and over the years, as that rain runoff comes into the lakes, there will be creek channels that'll form ditches from the back of the pockets out. So in the fall time, that's one of the best spots. That was really weird. That's one of the best spots to target bass during the fall, early winter time, are those channels, those little ditches. And then of course, a lot of lakes that they're just really following around bait fish. You could catch them out in the middle, but you got to find the balls of bait. And sometimes they'll be in one area for a month. Sometimes they'll only be in an area for a day or a few hours. So it's a little bit harder to track them down when they're out there on those bait balls out in the middle. What the? Seriously? All right, you guys, this is not the ideal situation. Literally went to cast and my rod broke in half. The only other rod I have with me is a spinning rod with, like, I think this might be 6-pound test on it. This is ridiculous. Of course, if I had a bunch of time, I'd go back home, but get another rod, but I just don't. I mean, I thought one rod, look at that, my 6-pound. Oh my gosh, this is not good. You should never throw a 1/2 ounce vibrating jig on 6-pound test. But that's what we're gonna do, because that's what I'm stuck with. Which means with that big hook, I probably can't really even set the hook. These fish are gonna have to eat it if I want to get one in the boat. This is yeah, this is not good. I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to tell if I have a fish now. And I'm probably gonna end up casting this thing and breaking off. Or the first fish I set the hook on is gonna break off. Oh, had one on the fall. Oh, there's one on the fall. Slow rolling it on the bottom. See if we could keep this guy penned. Again, had to switch to a spinning rod, 6-pound test. Well, it's a good fish. Gotta play him out here. But just reeling it on the bottom, I could see him on the forward facing. And yeah, just think it's a little bait fish. And he's not even really hooked good at all. He almost made it past the barb. It's hooked pretty good, actually. There we go. Modified first gen copperhead, fluke on it, fishing down deep. That fish is out in 30 feet of water right there. So it is possible. It is possible to get him on the there's a bunch of fish right below us. It is possible to get him on the spinning rod, 6-pound test on a plated jig. Not ideal. Honestly, scared to set the hook, but it worked. Got one. Dang it, I had one. Missed him. I knew that was gonna happen though on this dang spinning rod. Darn it. And he ate it on the fall. This thing kind of spirals down to the bottom. This looks like a dying bait fish. There's one. Yo-yoing it off the bottom there. Just like I was telling you guys. Saw a school of them down there, yo-yoing this thing off the bottom, and he choked it. And the action of this thing is crazy. I don't know how they could resist it, but that guy choked it right there. Again, not ideal, 6-pound test spinning rod, but hey, it's working. I mean, we do have an ultra sharp hook on this thing. A Mustad Ultra Point. It's super sharp, super strong. And I'm just letting it go down there 30 feet. Kind of reeling it real slow, feeling it do its thing, feeling it vibrate down there, letting it die. And you'll have to play with retrieves, you know. Oh, I thought I had another one. Darn it. But yeah, just reeling it slow, letting it die, changing it up, just changing it up. Got him. Yo-yoing that thing right in its face. Couldn't stand it. Nice fish. There we go. First gen copperhead, just fluke on the back, yo-yoing it right in front of a fish's face, and couldn't stand it. Thank you, fish. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for our video today on why you should change up or think about changing up your bladed jig, how to do it, why to do it, areas to target. Like I said, creek channels, ditches are going to be the key targets as we come into the fall and into the winter time. That's where the bait fish go. And as you can see, it works. Caught fish on it. And again, if you're interested coming out here fishing with me, doing a guided trip, I'll teach you whatever you want to know about fishing. We'll go over it, give you instruction on it, fish these ponds right here, catch some fish, and they're good all through the winter time. So email me at thebasshookup@gmail.com and I'll get right back to you. So that's going to do it for today's episode. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.